Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Buddy Martin Show. Meldon Law Monday coming to you with a new microphone tonight. Hopefully it'll work. Got Shane Matthews standing by in the orange and blue room. They just don't want to hear Shane say that Billy's going to call the plays. Once again, people stirring it up about Billy's comments. I don't know what they don't understand about it, but we'll talk to Shane about that. Also, Franz Beard will be here to explain the topsy-turvy world of basketball. By the way, Lady Gators winning big tonight in Fayetteville, 108-78, I believe it was. And then, of course, a big week for Florida. Tomorrow, Vanderbilt and Gainesville. And then they go on the road to face the number one Auburn Tigers there. So it's a big week in basketball, trying to bounce back from a horrible showing up in Tennessee. So stand by for that. It's going to be a good night. We've got Shane. We've got Franz. We've got Kevin Brockway all coming your way tonight on the Buddy Martin Show. So stay tuned. Help us bring it home. Tell your friends and neighbors. The Buddy Martin Show is just about to be on the air right. Stand by. Now.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Evening. Welcome back to the Buddy Martin Show on a Monday night, Meldon Law Monday. Tonight, glad to be with you, talking some hoops, talking some football, more about Billy Baker as the play caller. I know Shane's got plenty to say about that. Basketball, total collapse up in Tennessee. I mean, I don't know what happened. I can't explain it, but I never like it when they take off all that time. They didn't come back with much juice. So, game tomorrow night versus Vanderbilt, and then they go to Auburn on Saturday. So let's go right to the orange and blue room and talk to the QB himself, who I'm sure is getting ready to watch his Kansas City Chiefs fly high again this week and beat the Eagles, I think. Evening, Shane.
What's up, buddy?
You, brother. Well, tell me about the collapse up in Knoxville.
I mean, it's college basketball. I think people fail to realize that Tennessee gives scholarships to their athletes. They're a pretty good basketball team, and they played well. We didn't play great, got our ass beat. You forget about it, you move home, and get ready for the game tomorrow night.
It's kind of the way you got to look at it these days, especially with the season being as long as it is. But I wasn't surprised they lost. I was just surprised how bad they look at every phase of the game. They just looked like they were lost. And they were playing at such a high level when they took the 5 days off. And are you a fan of taking that time off, Shane, or you rather keep playing when you're playing well?
I mean, it just so happened every team in the league has that bye week, so to speak, where you don't play a midweek game, and that was just the time that ours came. I just, I never believe in the whole we didn't bring the intensity, we weren't ready. Look, we were ready to play. You just ain't going to win every game in this conference. It's not like we went and lost to a 1AA team. This is one of the top 10 teams in America that's very good, very well coached. They were missing some starters, but they got physical with us. They took away our guard play, and our big men just got pushed around. And tip your hat to Tennessee. And forget about it and move on. I didn't think we were going to win the game.
Well, you saw how valuable number one was to this team. And when he got hurt, obviously they couldn't throw it in the ocean before then. He was not having a good night. You got those three guards, you expect them always to hold up like that. But some of the bigs didn't have a very good game. It just wasn't a cohesive effort, and they got out rebounded. That was really the surprising part. They really got hammered by Tennessee on the glass.
Well, it doesn't surprise me from Tennessee because they're a physical basketball team. I think people fail to mention, when the people, I can't tell you how many people on my show text, Todd Golden didn't have them ready to play. Folks, it was a 3-point game at halftime, right? We were losing by 3. Okay.
True.
It doesn't matter. I mean, Rick Barnes has been coaching a long time. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's got good players. Their athletes are on scholarship and getting paid just like ours are. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. The other team plays better than you. And like I said, throw the tape in the trash and don't even watch it.
Well, you had the first game to go on. When you win by 30 like that, the expectations are high.
Whoever's expecting that is clueless when it comes to sports.
Well, I think it's just expectations to do better than they did. I'm not saying they should win by 30, but you think you're a better team, but obviously that night they were not. And this is the SEC. There are some great teams in the league, without question. It's going to be a rough ride for everybody. Every place you play, there's not an off night anywhere you go in the league. As Kentucky, Kentucky found out with Cal coming home and beating them. How about that? I wasn't expecting that at all. Were you?
No, I mean Arkansas has been terrible this year. They've been probably the poorest shooting team in America, and they shot lights out. I mean, when a team can't miss, your chances of winning are very slim. But it was a terrible home loss for Kentucky. They'll just have to regroup and get ready for whoever they have this week. But that's SEC play. I mean, Vanderbilt was destroying Oklahoma. Oklahoma cut it to like a 6-point deficit at halftime, and then outscored Vanderbilt 61-27 in the second half.
Yeah.
So they lost by 30. It's a brutal league, and you're going to get your ass beat a couple of times, and you just got to move on.
Well, it's like Chris Harris said, and he wrote, he's right. Despite losing a quad one opportunity Saturday, number one Gators still picked up another Q1. Texas, which hammered UF hammered by 24 2 weeks ago, moved to the NET top 30. Florida's now 4-3 in Q1s and 14-0 in Q2 and 4s. As of today's net, seven more Q1s on the road on the schedule. Here's the thing: the shooting was horrendous. You realize Florida shot 24% on field goals, lowest readily available in recorded history for the University of Florida. Terrible. And prior to that, it was 25-5 on December 15th, 2007. So they shot not just a bad night, they had a historic bad night, and they're expected to be a good shooting team. So I guess you got to hope they got it all out of their system, right?
Well, I just think you tip your hat to the Tennessee Volunteers. I expect us to come back and play pretty well tomorrow night.
Yeah. Let's talk some football. Your least favorite subject. You said it a million times, I've heard, probably 2 million more. But there's a lot of talk now about what's going to happen to the play calling in Florida. Hold your comments, because I know what you're going to say. But according to what we're reading, Zach Albuquerque had an interview on 3 with Napier. And he said he was asked about responsibilities with Russ Callaway to offensive coordinator, more involvement from Ryan O'Hara and John Donovan. Now, I knew about O'Hara. I don't know who John Donovan is. Napier discussed why he'll continue to serve as Florida's play caller, as you suggest he should, Shane, during his appearance on the Gators Breakdown podcast earlier in the week. It helps us from an identity standpoint as a team. I think you're part of the inner workings from an installation script standpoint, and now the game day goes. So, look, I think the big thing is that we've been fortunate that we've really been good on the offensive staff. You think about the position coaches we have. I was really pleased with Russ Callaway. and the more responsibility he took on this year from a leadership standpoint. Russ did a great job of running the unit meetings, did a good job organizing staff, and certainly in that coordinator type role as an exceptional young coach. So I think we took a step forward. I think Ryan O'Hara, who's the quarterback coach, as we know, being able to coach last year was a big deal. Him being a quarterback coach, I was thankful for John Donovan, helped us from a football standpoint. Do you know who John Donovan is?
I do not. I've never heard of the name. I know
don't feel
Jim
bad.
Donovan. No, it's Jim Donnan. I don't know
Yeah,
who John. I have no idea who John Donovan is.
Billy Donovan is, and Jim Donovan, not John Donovan. I got you. So apparently, I don't know these people. I'm not smart enough to look at the field and
I'm going to
figure it
Google
out.
him right now.
Yeah,
It's the first
I
time I've
don't
heard
know.
of him.
Yeah, I look. I think you said it before 1,000 times, and I wrote it today, and I teased this show. It's Billy Donovan's team. Should be Billy. I got me saying Donovan. Billy Napier's team. It's Billy Napier's offense. It's Billy Napier's quarterback. Who do you think's going to call the plays? Billy Napier is going to call the plays. And with the system set up like it is, I mean, they've got certain go-to plays they're going to call. They like to run the football a certain way. They're going to throw the ball a certain way. And they got to set plays, and the quarterback doesn't like them, he can check them out of that, as you did your entire career. Am I right about that?
I was reading about John Donovan here.
What did you say?
No, he's been on the staff ever since Billy's been here. He was in the NFL for a while. Different staff. I wouldn't know if he walked in my house.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a picture of him for
Yeah.
some reason. But
He's so important, they don't have a picture of him. That's really good.
I'm not surprised. I mean, I try to tell people that I did not think a coordinator was going to be hired because
You did. You said that.
I don't know what it would do. I think people just think that needs to happen. I don't know why people think that. I know I'm in the minority, and I love my football team, and I want us to win. And I think Billy is fine. I think people got to realize too. The reason the quarterback that everybody's excited about is here is because of Billy Napier,
right?
And his relationship, and he knows his system. You don't want to come in and have to change terminology for a guy who played pretty well as a true freshman. I'm still more concerned about the defense than I am the offense.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute here, but here it is. It's laid out here. They put off a thing, and since 2002 they went 6-7. They averaged 29.5 points a game, 58th overall. 2003 they went 5-7. They averaged 28.4 points, 59th overall. In 2024 they went 8-5. We all know about that. They won their last 5, was it? And they averaged 28.3, which is lower, 64th overall. Napier's 19-19. You hadn't even broken 30 points a game yet in the season. Now, certainly you got to think there's better football ahead, but who do you think was calling the plays when Lagway was having those big games? Who called those plays?
It was Billy.
Yeah. Why would you want him to change now that he's on a roll? I don't get it. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and again, I say it all the time, but buddy, it doesn't matter if they hired Coach Spurrier as the offense coordinator. There's going to be people complaining because they're going to question this or question that. They question Andy Reid. They question Kyle Shanahan. They question Chip Kelly, who just won a national title calling plays. There's no perfect way of doing it. And of course, one of my favorite things is, as Nick Saban calls it, Twitter coaches have the answers, right?
Yeah, it's part of the game, I guess. Yeah. How about the coaching hires? It's a pretty good week, I guess. I'm hearing, I don't know. It sounds like Sinceri is the real deal. You know about him. He played at Alabama. He comes with a good breeding. People are talking about it. We discussed it some last week. You got Sinceri. Now they've got Skipper, apparently, is being wooed to come back. Do you remember him before?
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him, but I remember him. Yeah.
and he left and went away, Colorado State, whatever. Anyway, so now he was back and had dinner over with one of the coaches over at Spurs Gridiron Grill over the weekend. So there's stuff going on there. So I don't know. I'm not up on this sort of stuff in terms of, who's the hot coach and all that. But it sounds like they're having a decent offseason. Hey, one of the best things that happens was that Billy apparently drove to the Senior Bowl where he visited with some of his former players, including Etienne, by the way, who betrayed him and went to Georgia. He stopped at a place in Milton up here near me, the Modern Bakery, and got donuts. They're apparently world famous for their donuts. So Billy was enjoying the tour, getting some donuts, kind of cooling his jets, talking to his players, taking a breath. Seems like, and doing some recruiting at the same time, it seems like he's a bit more relaxed. Shane, do you think he is?
I haven't followed it, buddy. Look, Billy has a plan. He's going to stick to his plan. And I think, whether you as a fan agree or disagree, I mean, that's the beauty of sports. As I try to tell people, ain't a damn thing you can do about it. So why worry about it? Mm-hmm. Billy's in charge of the football program, and he's doing it a different way than other programs that really hit the transfer portal and get older players. He picks and chooses. He still tries to rely on high school recruiting, and it may take longer that way, but he has a plan that he's trying to build the program, and we'll see what happens.
But Shane, it's what we do. And
I guess, I don't worry about it. And like I said, I love my football program. I want us to win, but I'm not sitting on pins and needles about it on a daily basis.
No, but you're in a talk show business. You
right.
know, you want to make sure you have to feed the masses.
If anybody watches my show, I tell them exactly what I just said right here on this program.
Yeah, but you still can't say I don't care because you do care.
I didn't say I don't care, buddy. That's not what I said.
What did you say?
I said I care a lot about my program, but I don't care what Billy does in the off season driving to the Senior Bowl. That's great. I think it's great that he talked to ETN because that's what coaches do. Coaches don't hold grudges against their players. They want to see them succeed. But I do not care about what they're doing because there's nothing I can do, you can do, anybody that's texting your show right now can do. It's his program, and we'll see what happens next year. And I think people are excited about the program.
It's hard to tell them not to bring any passion as a fan because that's what fans do. They have to have something to care about.
I agree with that, but you're either. I think it's great that fans care, but my point to why worry about who Billy hires, who Billy signs, he's not going to go sign a kid because 100 people on Buddy Martin show on a Tuesday night wants him to sign player X. He's going to sign who he thinks is best for the Florida Gators, and I just think. Whether you like the way he does things, I'm not talking about you, buddy. I'm talking about the Gator Nation. You either support it or you don't. But there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I got to tell you, people look to you as a guiding light. You are a famous quarterback at Florida. You played in the league for 14 years for all those teams. You're an expert on the field. They want to know what you think about what you see.
And I've said multiple times that Billy should call the plays.
No, I know that part. I'm not going to beat that to death. But they take your word for things when you say this is what they should do. So I would just ask you flat out right now to evaluate what you know from based on where you come from. I know you don't follow it night and day, and you're not a recruiting expert, but based on what you've seen. In terms of the coaches that were hired, as far as you could tell, coming off the win streak last year, like they got the quarterback they got, and he's, of course, getting a great run. And I'm not asking you to go pick the Gators to go 14-0 next year. I'm just asking you, based on what you see as a guiding light, as a guy who's an expert on the subject, how do you think this program is doing, and are you encouraged?
Yeah, I mean, I've always trusted Billy with the program. Wins are what matters. And I think in November next year, we need to be in the talk. Hopefully, we're in the talk of possibly making the playoffs. Again, I think they need to try to find another veteran wide receiver. I love the young guys, but they've had a really good track record of bringing in guys in the portal, older receivers. And I'm still concerned defensively. I know we played better at the end, but it was bend but don't break, and the other team shot themselves in the foot. Give our guys credit, but my football eyes tell me we have got to get better defensively.
But you can see why, too, and I don't necessarily agree with it, that a guy like Chip Kelly just left Ohio State to be the offensive coordinator for the Raiders.
Yeah, I said this on my show today, or maybe it was last week. If you took a poll of anybody that coaches football at any level, and you gave them a choice where they could coach football, they're going to pick the National Football League because there's nothing like it. The benefits, the money, and you actually get to coach football. You don't have to worry about all the nonsense on the outside. And so I don't blame Chip Kelly going back to the NFL. You're going to see more coaches go to the NFL.
We forget how close he came to being the Florida coach. He was right there when that all happened. They went up to see him. They talked to him. They wanted him. They could say what they wanted to, but they offered him a job, and he didn't take it, apparently. And Scott Strickland came home empty-handed, and that's when they got Dan Mullen. You remember that did happen, Chip Kelly. But he never has been successful, really, until he got to Ohio State, and he found his role. And he got a great program, great players, and he's obviously a good play caller. So you can see why Florida fans might say, wait, Ohio State's got a guy as a coordinator now went to the pros and called plays. And I see that, but I'm with you. I agree that where they need to be. I think the kind of team he's got and the quarterback he's got. Remember, he did call those plays for him last fall when he was doing so well. So we'll see how it goes. But all right, Shane, before we go to break here, I want to ask you about golf. I love watching Pebble Beach. It was quite an event. Really, really glad to see Rory win. What was your takeaway from Pebble Beach?
I watched a little bit of it. I mean, they for that tournament to be out there, it's such a great golf course. They even though it's not a major, they need to make it hard. It's way too damn easy.
Well, the first 6 holes are easy when the wind doesn't blow. When the wind blows, it's a whole different world.
Buddy, even on Saturday when it was freaking 30, 40 degrees and raining sideways, they were still shooting 8 or 9 under par. I just think they need to make it harder because these guys are so good in today's world. It was good to see Rory win. But I thought the golf course was too easy.
Well, I mean, I've seen Stan Andrews brought to his knees too. That's just the way the conditions are. But I see what you mean. But still, it's a beautiful golf course. It's a beautiful venue. It's fun to watch that. If you're going to watch an event, it's there. And weather's always been a part of it, just like it's been a part of the British Open. And when the wind doesn't blow over there in Troon or wherever, it's the same thing. But, boy, I love it. Signifies the beginning of golf season for me. I'll watch some golf now. I'll be looking forward to it. So, all right, Shane Matthews is our guest. He's a QB1. He'll be on tomorrow morning on the program at the same time. And check him out on Put Up with Matthews. He'll have some washed-up sports writer, I suppose, on early. And who else you got later on?
Mike Morgan from the SEC Network.
Mike, too. Good. He's a good man. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about our friends at Meldon Law. Talked to Jeffrey last week, and he's very happy going to announce that his daughter also is an attorney. She's coming to work for Meldon Law as well. Meldon Law has 4 locations to serve you. Of course, Gainesville, Ocala, Williston, and Lake City. They're very heavily involved with the University of Florida. It's the official law firm. It's the official law firm of the University of Florida. Jeffrey gets very involved in the causes. He's Gators through and through, and he's always giving away stuff. So if you want to pick up some tickets or something, you need to go see him and go over to his Facebook page and check him out. He has lots of good stuff that he can give you, and it's for free. So Meldon Law, they won't back down. Shane, I had a question here for you. I want to get to you 1 second. A couple of people online were asking me questions too about that. Let's see. So did you find any more about the guy we identified as one of the play callers? Anything else that you found there?
No, I mean he helped coach in the NFL for a long time, but I don't know him because they don't have a picture of him next to on the website.
Yeah. Don't you think that's kind of what Billy wants to make that other guy? He doesn't want to identify anybody as a play caller, don't you think?
No, I mean, look, again, play calling and coordinating an offense and a plan. I've said this multiple times. Billy doesn't go lock himself in his office for 3 or 4 hours and put a plan together.
Mm-hmm.
They sit in this big ass board meeting room with the O-line coach, the receiver coach, the running back coach, and they talk about situations. They watch film together. Usually, receiver coach usually is responsible for like red zone. The running back and the O-line coach is responsible for short yardage situations, and they all put their heads together and put a plan together. It just baffles me how people think that none of those coaches have any input, but they do.
You've always said basically everybody is involved in the play.
Everybody's involved, even when Coach Spurrier, even when Urban was here, even when Dan Mullen called plays.
Yeah,
everybody's involved.
Yeah,
there's only one person either signaling the play in or calling or talking to somebody, but you are getting recommendations. I can't tell you how many times, whether I call plays or teams I was on, whether I was the starter, the backup, or whatever, the play caller is going, "Hey, O-line coach, what's your best run right here?"
Yeah.
Hey, Billy Gonzalez, what do you like right here? It's going to be 3rd and 5. Can so-and-so win on the post route? It's a collective effort.
I did find more on Donovan, the guy that's one of the guys calling plays. Before joining Napier staff, Donovan was an analyst with the Green Bay Packers in 2022. He spent 4 seasons with the Jaguars and previously served as offensive coordinator at Penn State, Washington, and Vanderbilt. So he has a little bit of heritage there. The contribution of these 3 coaches, Napier said, has freed him up to keep calling plays. He looks forward to seeing what his offense can do in 225 with DJ Lagway and 7 other returning starters. So he's saying because he does spread it around, he can call plays, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I started playing football when I was 5 years old, buddy. I played till I was 36, and I've still been involved in it in some capacity. And every team I ever played on in my entire life or was involved with helping coach or whatever, if you are the play caller, you are getting help from everybody on your staff.
What's the best thing about calling plays? What is that you like about it so much, Shane?
It's just scheming and trying to out scheme the other guy. Try to guess, what are they going to do here? Well, I think they're going to do this, so I'm going to do that. It's just like, it's no different. I mean, go back to the Ohio State-Texas game. Steve Sarkisian, to me, is one of the top 3 play callers, if not the top play caller in America. Okay? They run off tackle. I don't remember what down it was. Maybe it was first down. They get stuffed by Ohio State. Okay? Well, his film study told him what Ohio State does in goal line situation. He probably watched all 72 goal line plays that Ohio State had. He had a plan. He said, okay, we may feel like we can push them off the ball here, blow them off the ball, and run off tackle. Didn't work. So what do now? You say, okay, we're going to try to out leverage them and get outside. Didn't work. Okay. Sometimes it just does not work.
Yeah.
And he was trying to outguess what they were going to do. And look, there's no perfect way to call plays. It's just you got to have a knack and know when to call it. And then I'll be damned, people got to execute. You may have the best play called in the world. Your left tackle gets beat. Sack. You may have a guy running wide open, never gets the ball to him. So,
well, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Well, this guy has seen a few people calling plays. Who was your all-time favorite play caller? Yes, friends, I can guess who it is.
My all-time play caller would be Steve Spurrier. I mean, I've never seen anybody could just draw it up in the dirt and say, okay, you do this, you do this, you do this, and it'll work. And by golly, it did. My second favorite play caller of all time, and I'm going to date myself, was the Lou Holtz of the North Carolina State years. When he was at NC State, they ran such a fun offense, and he was absolutely fabulous. And I'll give another one there. Dr. Tom Osborne. People say, well, there was no yes, there was ingenuity in that offense. When everybody in the ballpark knows what's coming and you can out execute them and you can still shock people with a certain play call at another time. Dr. Tom was a fabulous play caller.
Helps to have better players too, of course, as well. Here's a little known fact. Shane, maybe you didn't even know this. When Steve came to Florida as a player, Ray Graves gave him a lot of latitude to call us on plays. Among other things, when he kicked his field goal against Auburn, he came off the field and nobody was sure what was going to happen. I asked Ray Graves about this. He told me he didn't know himself what Steve was going to do. And there was a special shoe for him made for kicking because he started kicking that year before. And he came over and got his shoe. They thought, well, okay, maybe he's putting the shoe on. His shoe on, he's going to fake it. They didn't know until he went on the field and kicked that he was going to kick that field goal. Here's the other thing. The only coach player who ever got the MVP for the losing team in the Sugar Bowl was your former coach, Steve Spurrier. And here's why he got it.
Because they were getting blown out and he started calling the plays, right?
Well, Dan Devine was the coach of Missouri. And they would go out there on defense and put everybody on one side of the field. Everybody on one side of the field, on the right, the strong side. And for 3 quarters, they tried to just run against it. And pretty soon, Steve went to the bench and said, Coach, let me move some of these guys around here. So he just threw it to the other side of the field. Up and down the field they went. They get completely blank. All of a sudden, it was 21-0, and they scored, and they went for 2. Unfortunately, they scored again. Scored 3 times in the fourth quarter, 3 touchdowns against a team that was stoning them. And they ended up losing the game because they went for 2 points 3 times. But Spurrier just simply changed it on the field. So he was a dynamic. Do you ever have that much freedom, Shane, as a player to be able to do that?
No, because I think the game has changed. I mean, back in those days, a lot of those coaches, even they were great, some of those great football coaches didn't really understand the forward pass.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah. And hell, I'll be honest with you, there's still some people coaching college football that don't understand the forward pass. Notre Dame's one of them.
Huh.
I don't know how Notre Dame played for the national title the more I watched them play. They were fortunate because they got the 1 turnover margins in every game, led the league nation in turnovers, and they played good, solid defense, and they could run the football, but throwing the football was bad.
One of the things in my education of what you could do in the multiple ways you run an offense, and Frank, you remember this, was Mouse Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Mouse Davis was coaching the Denver Gold. Prior to that, he coached in San Antonio. Coach Jim Kelly in Houston, I guess it was. He brought that offense, and I learned all about the run and shoot from Mouse. He taught me, sat me down, and showed me the multiple options that each receiver had, and how they began to read, to give the receiver the freedom to make the reads, and based on what his decision was, he basically ran an audible, and that changed the way the passing game was being run, in my opinion. There, multiple. Shane, you got one play, but you got 4 different ways to throw it, right?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the run and shoot, and you're right. They read a lot of stuff on the run. I personally don't like that because as a quarterback, I want to know exactly what my guy's doing. I'd rather the quarterback read, and if this guy's not open, go somewhere else, not wait for that guy to figure out what route he's going to run. Yeah, there's some good principles in the run and shoot. It's not one of my favorite offenses, though, but they got some good stuff in it.
You think about the run and shoot. You think about Air Coryell. You think about Air. You think about Fun and Gun. You think about all the names of these offenses, and it's really fun to watch. So anyway, play calling.
Knobloch, Perry Moss, and Bill Peterson used to get in a car every summer, and they would drive out to San Diego to talk with Don Coryell and Sid Gilman. And then they'd come back and stop in Houston and spend several days with Bill Yeoman, who was the coach at the University of Houston, who was the inventor of the veer offense. And Pete's offenses were light years ahead of the rest of the civilized world when he was at FSU. And Knobloch and Perry Moss did some fun things too, but Coryell learned it from Sid Gilman, and Sid Gilman's philosophies are the major influence on the Spurrier offense.
Well, you're absolutely right about Coryell, and you're absolutely right where Florida State got it from. And Florida, by the way, copied Florida State. It was after they brought the forward passing, and Tinsley beat them with that bomb. They won Pancos. They learned the passing game and the way they ran it. They hired an FSU coach later on. But Florida State was way ahead of everybody on the passing game. And it was because of their trips to California and the Sid Gilman passing game. He was the genius at that time. Shane, you ever heard those guys?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
If you could trace it back, Shane, as far as you could, to the most knowledgeable person that you could think of back in the day and who was the master of the passing game, who would you say it was?
I'd probably say Lavelle Edwards.
Okay, BYU.
Because BYU, when I grew up, when I was like 8 years old, I was like, I want to go play quarterback at BYU.
They threw it around a bunch.
Because all their quarterbacks were throwing it around. And then if it was the NFL, it would be Coryell.
I liked a guy named Homer Rice.
Yeah.
And he was at Davidson, and his offenses were copied. Pete said that Coryell and Homer Rice were the two geniuses coaching college football. And Coach Pete could screw up a sentence worse than anybody I've ever known. But by gosh, he sure could coach football.
Did you ever hear the Peterson stories about all those malaprops, Shane? He was a beauty. I knew Pete pretty well. And he got things mixed up. Okay. He literally did this. This actually happened. He went to the sideline one time. He's coaching. I think at that time he might have been, I'm not sure he was coaching at Florida. I think it's Florida State. And he got his players together and started, huddle up. Let's go. Let's have the Lord's Prayer here. This is a true story. He says, I will lead it. He said, you ready? Now I'll lay me down to sleep. I swear he did that. And that's a true story. I verified it. And then there are many other stories about him that, like when he was coaching in Houston and the pros, they're hammering home his points all the time. He keeps saying, remember this, remember these words, remember this, remember that. And he get in there one day, he says, guys, we're playing hard this year and we're going to go all the way. And I want you to remember one word and one word only: Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's 2 words.
When we brought him elected him into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame, we're down there at Greenleaf down around Winter Haven. And he came on after Patty Berg, who was an absolute disaster, the worst acceptance speech in the world. And everybody's about ready to fall asleep. And Lord have mercy, Pete came on and saved the day and said, thank you guys for indicting me into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. It's a beauty there. All right, we're going to get to Kevin in just 1 second, and I'm going to tell you about our sponsor. I'm going to make sure I get this right. I want to pronounce this man's name correctly. I'll call to make sure I did it right. And these are the folks you know about when it comes to needing an MRI. In the past, you've heard about this company. And it was founded by a guy whose name you should know how to say, and I should too. His name is Joe Colorio. And he actually started out the company, and then he sold it and came back to it. Now he's running the show again. I want to tell you about Mr. Colorio because he's the sponsor of this. So we get this. Okay, there we go. Sorry about it. Where all right, MRI, Titan MRI imaging. You need to know about this if you're in the market for one. 6 years after leaving Highfield MRI, a leading provider of advanced MRI resonance imaging, he found in 1997, Joe Colorio and his Titan MRI team has acquired Highfield MRI. This move will strengthen Titan's MRI's position in the medical imaging industry and enhance its ability to deliver innovative, high-quality MRI solutions to healthcare providers and patients across North Central Florida. The acquisition brings together two industry leaders in the area with a complete complementary expertise, resources, and technological abilities. They now have the ability to take your insurance. They have the same great service they've always had at Titan MRI, and they will try to accommodate you for take care of your needs. It's all about you and making your experience good. They have a place, several locations to help you out with that. Newly integrated organization will have 3 locations. Millennium Center Practice joining the existing Titan MRI in Park Avenue, location located in Lake City, which provides much needed service to the area, including the Valdosta and Southern Georgia area. So check them out, Titan MRI, formerly there now, Titan Imaging. And so check them out, find out. They have lots of ways to serve you. Mr. Colorio says, we are thrilled to welcome the talented team from Highfield MRI to our family and look forward to leveraging their experience to expand their services and drive patient experiences in MRI space. So, all right, check them out. That's Titan MRI Imaging. All right, guys, let's welcome in Mr. Hoops himself. I'm going to let you go in a second, Shane. I want to talk about this basketball team, what they're facing now. They've got tomorrow night Vanderbilt, and they've got to rehab it. They're 12.5-point favorites, which I find a little bit odd since they played so poorly. But I guess, like Shane says, you bounce back. Then they got the big game on Saturday at Auburn. So, Kevin, you watched them. What do you think? Were you shocked at how they played up in Tennessee?
A little disappointed. Can you hear me or no?
Yes, we got you.
Okay, you got me. Okay, good. Yeah, no, definitely a little disappointed because of the fact that, as the Kai Ziegler was out, Milicic was out, you kind of thought that they could. And for a half, I thought that Tennessee was shooting so god awful in that game, and I thought they didn't really take advantage of that very well. Now Tennessee was the desperate team at home. I tend to subscribe to this theory that the desperate team at home, a team that loses 2 in a row. I've seen it throughout the SEC in my years covering basketball, that they tend to raise their level of play. And I think that's what Tennessee obviously did. They had a collective effort. They really, grinded in defensively. You're at home. You're going to get the benefit of the doubt on some contact that you're not going to get on the road. So I think that all factored into it. But a little disappointed because I think this was a chance for Florida to show that they could be that elite kind of team, and that team that could, contend for an SEC title. Now I'm just not so sure again. I think they'll be good. I think they'll be, maybe an 11-7, 12-6 SEC team, but I don't see them being, a 14-4, 15-3 type SEC team that could win the league. And we've talked about that before. That would have been a nice feather in Todd Golden's cap, but right now I don't see anyone catching Auburn in that regard.
France, we thought they were pretty much exempt from any injuries, but they certainly found out early on that they can't lose some guys. Number one was one of them, and him going down like that, and without him in the game and not shooting the basketball, they had their worst shooting night of all time, and they don't hit their threes. All of a sudden, the rest of the team didn't look the same. What happened there, France, the shooting that night?
Well, the one thing that and I think Kevin would agree with, that they really don't have, is they don't have that guy that can just get into the lane anytime he wants to. And because they don't have that, they have games like Saturday when the big guys were basically as useful as boobs on a boar hog. And you've got to have a penetrator. And Zion Pullen was that guy last year. Zion Pullen could get in the lane and get people involved. And Walter, I think, is a terrific shooter, and I think he's doing a terrific job out there, but he's not a penetrator. Denzel Aberdeen, I think, could be a penetrator.
Great.
But I think he's still in that shoot it first, pass it second mentality. I don't think he's gotten past that yet. And I think if he were more of a pass first guy, that he'd be that he could be that guy. But Elijah doesn't need to be the penetrator. He's a guy that can he's the guy that can take a disastrous play and turn it into something good. Of course, Saturday he could turn a disastrous play into the Titanic sinking. He was bad Saturday, and I think he'd probably be the first one to take. He was really bad. But I think they're lacking that, and I think they're lacking Micah Handlogton. I think if Micah Handlogton would decide to play, I think they could. Even with the deficiency of a penetrator, I think they can make the final.
Should his red shirt come off, guys?
Latest I'm hearing is probably not. Now I'm hearing that I think that obviously there was some wavering, and I think in a situation like that, you would want a guy to be all in if he was going to play, and we're down to 10 games into the season and in the post game, so I think he's gonna stay on the bench. I mean, I would be surprised. I mean, it could still happen, but I'm right now, I'd say 80 to 90% not on that front based on what I'm hearing. And, Chinyelu is a guy, when I watched him in practice, I mean, I love the way he ran the floor. But his hands obviously have been inconsistent and, similar to his post moves and so forth. I mean, he's got to impact the game on the boards. I mean, Tommy Houck is a complete offensive player. When he comes in, he can face up, he can shoot, he can rebound. Obviously, Alex Condon. But, in that game against Tennessee, they just got out physical. Now, much better physical matchup against Vanderbilt. You got 2 6'7" forwards. So this should be a game where Florida makes hay on the boards again. But that's a big way they generate points, second chance points. I mean, only 3 second chance points in that game against Tennessee. That's when Florida's really at their best, is when that's when their inside players are really productive, when they get those second chance opportunities, because you don't have a traditional dump down post move kind of guy. I mean, Alex would probably be your closest thing to that. And Alex can face the basket too. And, he's added a little bit of a perimeter element to his game also. But I think that, for them to be at their best, they just got to hit the boards really hard, get those second chance points. It's a big part of their identity. And that's something that they're going to have to get back to here in this backstretch of the SEC.
All right, Shane, I'm going to give you this. Let you go get your milk and cookies for the night. If he comes back, can he get back in that rhythm? Are you afraid that Clayton, the injury might throw him off and it may take him a while to get back into his rhythm? Can he be the same in a couple of weeks? What's your opinion about Clayton coming back?
Oh, I think he'll be fine. I don't know if he'll play tomorrow night or not, but he's too good of an athlete, too skilled. I don't have any concerns.
By the way, just interject here. They just listed him as questionable on the SEC availability report. But some people told me that they saw him, walking across the street and he looked okay, apparently at the practice facility. So he played 20 minutes on it. He's a tough kid. So I think he's going to play tomorrow. I mean, I'd be really surprised if he's sidelined.
Yeah, that seems to be consensus coming out of practice. Let me let Shane go to bed here so I can get up in time to have his show tomorrow. Thank you, Shane. Good job. Don't forget.
All right, fellas.
Tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, Duke, Carolina. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
You watched it, Franz? I didn't watch it, but I heard about it. I mean, it was obviously a blowout, right? But how about Calipari going back to Rupp Arena and getting the win, too?
That was amazing. I was going to bring it up next. A Cooper Flag is everything in a bag of chips. He is an amazing player. I love his game. He just seems to get better, and he's a tough guy, too, by the way. He'll get there and mix it up. He can shoot the basketball, got a great touch. He's a leader. He's on the floor all the time diving for balls.
You know who he reminds me of, buddy?
Who's that?
Magic Johnson. Because if you remember, Magic Johnson was a 6'9" point guard, and everybody said you can't have a point guard that big, but he could rebound. But he would get the rebound, and because he could handle the ball, he'd start the break and lead the break, and he could finish. And this guy, you look at him Saturday night: 21 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, he's a legitimate passer. Yes. And at that next level, Kevin, I think he's probably if he's not the point guard, he's going to be the point forward.
Yeah, and he's probably the number 1 pick in the draft, I would think, next year. And by the way, looking at a lot of these NCAA tournament projections, they have Florida, the 2 seed in the East region, in Newark, New Jersey. They have the number 1 seed, Duke. That would not be good news for Florida if that were the case.
Yeah. It would. The only thing that I wonder about Duke is this: would a team that is physically tough, I mean, just let's say Tennessee comes out and plays them with the same mentality, and you get Joe Lindsey, who is no body bag, no foul, You get Joe Lindsey on the whistle and a crew like that where, literally if you don't have to bring in a body bag and haul the body off, there is no foul. The only thing I wonder about Duke is could they handle that kind of toughness? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. They're a pretty tough team. What about Cal? I mean, look. I got to tell you, I didn't think Cal had a chance to win that game. They just didn't look that good. And, man, he got them coached up, and they played amazing. And to go in, we know how hard it is to win at Rupp, as it is, to go in there in the situation. And they took command of that game, and they had it going away. And it was a really great coaching job. Cal's not done yet.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about Cal, and you got to respect about him, is his teams, mainly because they're freshman-dominated teams and they're younger teams, they tend to play well play better in February and March as those freshmen tend to mature, as his teams get to be more cohesive. So this is, in a way, kind of par for the course for him. I think, Arkansas is going to probably play better in the second half of the season as a result. And this might be the start or something. That being said, on the other side, Mark Pope, I really like the hire, but they've been a very inconsistent team. They go to Thompson Bowling, they beat Tennessee, and then they lose at home to Arkansas. They still don't have quite, and they're a little banged up too with, obviously with Butler out.
And they play no defense.
Yeah.
I mean, they should be the Kentucky Matadors. I mean, they play, it's ole, you're driving to the basket, fine, go on, get a layup, we'll just come down and try to outscore you. And, it worked well. I think the honeymoon's over for him. I really think the honeymoon's over for him. Reminds me of Billy Gillispie, because Billy Gillispie started out hot for Kentucky, and then he fizzled, and his thing was just the opposite. His was all defense, and they had no offense, and this guy's all offense and they have no defense.
They did. I don't know if Gillespie ever beat a team the caliber of Duke, though, Franz. I mean, to be fair, I think he'll survive, and he'll have that goodwill, obviously, because he's a former player, the glory days and so forth. And I think, like I said, Butler is their best defensive player. I mean, they did beat Florida. They put 106 on Florida, so they are a dynamic offensive team when they're all clicking, and they're healthy. So I'll wait till the end of the season to reserve judgment as to whether, he's going to last longer than Gillespie. But I kind of like what he's doing in a way. But like you said, your point is fair. What makes them inconsistent is the defense. The fact that they don't play consistent defense for the season, and that leads to an up and down where you can beat Tennessee one day and lose to Vanderbilt the next, and lose to Arkansas that only has one win.
The other thing about him is
sorry, go ahead, Fran.
The other thing about him is this, that at some point in time, every coach at Kentucky has to come to grips with the fact that until you've won 4, you're just another coach. Even Calipari, and Cal's told me that personally, that really, if there was one thing that got to him at Kentucky, and he loved Kentucky, but the one thing that really got to him was the fact that he won a national championship, and that was great for that first year afterward. But after that, it was like, okay, you got 3 more to go. And it weighed on him enormously. I just think that the pressure at Kentucky is enormous like that. There's very few places I've seen where one guy comes in and replaces, and he's even as good as or better, and that was Roy Williams. Got 3 national championships, and Dean only got 2 at Carolina. John Shire, at some point in time, the way, until John Shire's won a couple of national championships, that monkey on his back is going to turn into a gorilla.
All right, how's Kelly Ray Fanning doing? I mean, she had one big tonight, huge win, season high points. The team seems to get better, then fall back. How long is it going to take this program to get where it needs to be, or top 5 or 6 in the SEC? Is she going to get it done?
We're going on 20 years, right? Since Carol Ross. 22 years. Yeah, it's buddy, it's just hard there, and it's kind of like, I think it's the chicken and the egg argument, right, with fan support, and also I know they did a nice thing at Spurs last week, trying to drum up some NIL support as well. But it's a process. But I think that she seems very dedicated, and they hit a bunch of threes tonight. So basketball's a momentum game, but it's gotta, you'd like to see it pick up for her the second half of the season. But there's still a gulf, that's wide between them and the LSUs and the South Carolinas of the world that is not going to be navigated overnight for sure.
And shout out to those people that did the NIL deal at Spurs Gridiron Grill, and of some sponsors. Some of them are sponsors now, stepped up and helped them out, gave some NIL money. And our own Loren Meadows was one of the sponsors there. Had a nice dinner there at the Spurriers and trying to help them out because I hear the money's being squeezed again, that all the money is going to go for football. But they got to go out now and find a new way to raise revenue. So it's going to be tough. So, all right. So guys, it's way early now. And we can't get to our Final Four or Final Eight or Sweet 16 or whatever. The way things are going now, it looks like there's going to be a few changes at the top. I've got the rankings here. What's the breakthrough team going to be?
France?
Well, at the NCAA tournament this year.
Mm-hmm.
I know they've made the Final Four before, but I think
so here you got Auburn, you got Duke. We know that. We got Alabama.
I think Auburn and Houston are my two teams that could get one for the first time.
I'm going to give you guys a surprise team, a little mild surprise team, but don't count out Rick Pitino and St. John's and what he's doing.
Oh no, exactly.
You know, and that guy can flat coach. You know. Don't be surprised to see them make some noise in the tournament and maybe get there, because Rick's been there before, he's done it, and they're having a really nice season up there in Carnesecca Arena. You know, plus it'd be a nice magical story. You know, Louis Carnesecca passes away and revives college basketball in New York City. That'd be a nice story, right?
And Patino's been the super fan for Kentucky too. He's become a really big Kentucky, rooting home Cal, rooting home Pope. So we'll see how that goes. All right, guys.
I got to tell you what, Janai Broom.
Friends, you have your final thought, and then you.
Janai Broom is a guy that can carry a team to a national championship. There's something about the way he plays, championship teams usually have that one guy that lifts everybody up. That just his presence elevates everybody, and I think he's one of these guys that does that. And he's really got. I think Auburn can do it.
And one final shameless plug to you guys: we will be up. Gainesville Sun will be up in Auburn for that game. Florida Auburn on Saturday. So follow the coverage on Gainesville.com and Gatorsports.com.
Okay, Cav.
We'll sure do that. And you can read him in the Gainesville Sun. All right. Thanks, Kev. Thanks, friends. Thanks, guys. Great job. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks to our star-studded cast of people here. We appreciate very much the folks who come on here and give us their insights, their opinions, and it's hard to get better than tonight when you talk about basketball, especially regarding what's happening in Florida. I want to say thanks, shout out to my friends up in the Ocala who've been doing this for a while, the Renstar Medical Research. They are a super group of people, and they're a super group doing in the medical services. I'll give you this. Let me get you this here. There's your coupon code. No, they don't have it yet, but these are folks that you want to get to be if you want to see somebody that is doing something worthwhile. They do things for our health. They do things for our community. They're big Gator fans. I've said this many times that the founders of the Renstar are Mary Brandt, wife of Scott Brantley, and Joe Sorrentino. They went to high school together and down in South Florida, came up and started this company. It's been highly successful. Their data is empirical. They're always getting information to get sent off to these companies so they can get a better read on the needs we have. And the way they do that is clinical trials. Please, I ask you to go to renstar.net and see if you can see any of the clinical trials that might suit you and volunteer for it because it's helpful to everybody. It helps you, number one. Secondly, it gives them the data they need to tell us about the places we live in, that are indigenous to our area. And also it helps Renstar, our better health. So check them out and you can get compensated for time and travel if you do that. They have a variety of kinds of clinical research trials to find out the one that suits you best. Red Star Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thank you to our guests tonight, our sponsors, as always. Appreciate that. Good to have Shane Matthews. Don't forget, he'll be on 8 o'clock in the morning on Pot Up with Matthews. Fran Spear, Gator Bait. Read Fran's, by the way. If you don't not reading Fran's, you're missing out a bunch of stuff. He's one of the best around anywhere. And also, of course, you saw Kevin Brockway for the Gainesville Sun, always very much on top of things and following along what's happening in basketball and other sports as well. So good guests, good folks, and good show tonight. Thank you for all of the things that you did to chip in, folks, to make the show better. So we'll say with that, we'll say good night. God bless. Back at you tomorrow night right here with Loren Meadows.